Okay, I'm kind of skipping around here, maybe more than I should, but while we're on the topic of two-bus compression, I wanted to throw out the idea of not so typical two-bus compressing like processes. And off the top of my head, the first one that comes to mind is a tape emulator. Now, if we start smashing tape, it compresses. There's no denying that. That's a pretty straightforward idea. It's a transient manipulator, in other words. It's a form of a compression, but it does it in a way, kind of like I talked about earlier in the video, where the maximizer is intentionally colored. It's doing something, and you're going to hear it. So when you push it, it kind of does something nicely, as opposed to pretending to be clean and then just lying to you whenever the crap hits the fan. So let's I don't always use these things. In fact, I don't. I only reach for them when I'm not meeting my goals. Now, again, I said I want to get this thing to be minus 4 decibels RMS, which is again 2 decibels louder than it really should be. We're going way over the top, and I want to do it cleanly without all that distortion, bad distortion. And I liked what we were getting with that SSL compressor, the bus compressor, the 4K. But I just said, you know what? Let's just see if there's anything more interesting out there. Maybe there's some oddball process that'll get us out of this little mess. Because I'm getting a little nervous. I got a few tricks up my sleeve still, but I'm getting a little nervous. And this is one of the times when gear can really save you, is when you have a tool that just has an inherent sound that just works. We plug this thing in, and let's just say the Studer A800 by UAD just happens to magically tame those guitars in some way that we could probably figure out and do it, with the stock Cubase plugins, if I knew the exact frequency and all this junk. But let's just assume that this guy does it. Well, that's when the high-end gear really comes to mind. I think we can reverse engineer most of this junk, but I don't know how. And so anyway, let's see. This thing has a modern rock preset. I don't know. I'm just going to use a preset because I don't know what I'm doing on this thing. It's got all kinds of biasing and calibration. I don't know anything about all this tape business, but we're going to see if this preset does anything for us. And this is not really supposed to be a review of the Studer A800. Again, we're just kind of tossing it on to see if it works in this one situation where I'm kind of needing it. So, there are a lot of times I use this and love the thing. So whatever. We go easy on it because I don't know what I'm doing. We're just having some fun here on this particular video. Okay, so we got our input. I'm going to turn it way down because it was probably distorting like crazy on purpose. And let's just play with our gain structure to see if we can get something cool out of this. And as we covered in the video before this whole notion of advanced gain structure is very important, because when I start cranking up the level, even if I'm not pushing this tape thing, if I crank the output level high enough, everything else is going to distort after the fact. I could set this where the input's low and the output is high, and so this particular plugin will be clean, but by jamming, and juicing the other guys, we get all kinds of distortion. Another way to look at it is I could go really hot on the input, get this tape really working hard, and then back off on the output, and we might even have less distortion, even though the tape's overloading like crazy. So these are a few possibilities that I'm thinking about. And so, unfortunately, I can't set this thing too much with my ears. A little bit. It's more of a set it at numbers that look good and bypass it kind of deal. And either it's going to be good or it won't. We'll try something else and get the levels right, and then either it'll be good or it won't. So anyhow, with that in mind, let's see where we are. So what I've done there is I've turned the output all the way down. You can see it's all in the red, real hardcore. And I don't know if that's good or not. I'm going to turn it up so I can hear it on these stupid headphones, and we'll see if that distortion's cool or not. And see, this tape is capable of doing some really cool distortion stuff. Really cool, fun, pleasing ways of controlling the transients and whatnot. And so because of that, that might be the solution to our loudness problems, is just to intentionally distort, like I talked about earlier. So let's see what happens. Turning the way down so we can talk here. Okay, so let's look at this real quick. I've got my gain structure pretty cool. I think what we're doing, we're smacking the tape pretty good. We're in the red for sure, but not too much. And we're still at our -4 goal. So here we go. I thought I had it, and I didn't. All right, we're going to keep tweaking here. What's interesting, like, navigating through time, that was something we struggled with earlier. Some of that 1K junk or 700 hertz, whatever it was, the strange mid-range things, weren't pleasing. And now that we got this tape, it's distorting again, but it's the good kind. And you may be asking, well, how do I know what the good kind is? Well, you know the good kind because it sounds good. And you know the bad kinds because it sounds like crap. And that's the end of it. And if you like the distortion, like I kind of did earlier on the videos where we were playing with a brick wall limiter on 20 decibels reduction, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Well, I mean, I thought it was kind of cool. I could see myself using that as an effect for something. Granted, I have to pull it way down in volume, but that's another story. But anyway, so use your own taste here and just have the balls to be bold. I've said this 1,000 times. I don't have to do another one of those chest pumping, God dang, you're gonna change the world, Vince Lombardi speeches here. But in this particular instance, I really, really like what this tape is doing. It has a cool thing, and I think it's better with it than without it. And I like it better than the SSL 4K thing. And again, I don't know what was going on internally. All I know is I turned it on, got my gain structure right, and it felt pretty good. It solved some of my problems, and guitars got a little bit cooler because I wasn't really happy with those on this particular mix. So this is a cool. It's a good reason to try out other gadgets, and I'm not necessarily pushing this particular Studer or anything because there's a million different things out there. The PSP, was it vintage warmer, and man, what a bunch of stupid names. Anyway, you get the idea. Just be up for the kind of tools that will affect transients in a pleasing way. Another one I wanted to try, and I use this one frequently, and I actually use it on dance stuff a lot. Is the Fatso, which is the Empirical Labs. It's also like a tape emulator, but it works different. And I just want to see what it does, and I wanted you to kind of listen to me tweak it and maybe hear my thought process, and maybe you can learn something from the deal. But there's probably free guys that are almost as good or even better. I don't know. So keep your ears peeled, I guess. So, all right, we're gonna keep playing. All right, well, we got a pretty cool garage just crunch going, but that's because we're compressing the living hell out of it. So I'm going to turn my threshold down on the compressor, so when I say down, so that there's less compression. Okay, I kind of got off topic there. I was playing with a warmth control, which is a high-frequency limiter. I don't know if this mix needed it or not. Knowing me, it did. But I wanted to see what that did, and so I was playing with the gain structure just to get it to do a little, knock off a decibel or so, or at least a light one bulb up. I really haven't played with the compressor yet, so we'll keep going. Both the Studer and this thing seem to have the ability to tame whatever it was in those guitars when they were doing the wah, 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 before the chorus. They were distorting terribly before, and something about these processors is it's reducing it. I don't know if it's all the way out yet, but it appears to be in the ballpark. And I've not even put a compressor on it yet. I just did used the gadget. So we'll keep going. And there's something really messy about that, and like kind of wrong and kind of just screwed up. But it's starting to something about this UAD Fatso Senior on the stereo bus is really fun for this kind of rock thing. And I said I usually use this for dance music, so what do I know? I mean, who knows? But there's really something cool going on. Now, wasn't even paying attention to our distortion. I was just wanting to see how cool we could get it. And so that's another thing about some of these awkward, not conventional two-bus compressors, is they can do things, that extra stuff, that color. And hopefully you're hearing that same kind of good stuff that I'm hearing on my stupid headphones here on your speakers. But if you are, where this mix is starting to feel like something, because it really didn't feel that good before we started. I was kind of nervous about that, actually. But when you can get, that's the whole selling point of color. And that's really not the right discussion for this video about getting loud, but color, when done properly, and not just as, yeah, I like color, man, because I hate that talk. It's just so stupid. But when you actually have a gadget, a sonic thingy, a plug-in, hardware, whatever, that has an opinion, that has a bold sound, that can actually make some stuff sound worse some of the time, but on the right day just solves all your problems in ways you wouldn't normally do, that's when this stuff really comes, is worth the money. And in this particular case, this Fatso Senior really is awesome. Now let's see if we're actually meeting our goals now. All right, I know earlier it was not as bad. Of course, I had intentionally distorted this thing. So I'm going to slow down the release, because I think the release is ultra fast. I'll put it on 200 milliseconds. That's a pretty tame number. And we'll kind of go, I really want to focus on that intro section. So it's strange how the peaks aren't the big deal. When this thing really gets pumping and drums are pumping and singers are really going and all that stuff, we're not having a lot of trouble. We're having problems with the stereo width thingies. And that's another video. I've got tricks for that. But I wanted to kind of focus on the compression and that kind of stuff too, to see if that could help. And so far it has when I said it right. So. What's interesting, too, is I got the level down to -8 RMS in that section. I'm still hearing some distortion. So I probably should turn the whole thing off, everything on the two-bus, and investigate further to make sure I'm not hearing distortion that's just in the tracks, which is very possible, although I don't think I am. But, okay, so we're going to keep playing on this guy. Well, I don't need to keep playing. I just want to show you what's going on, because I thought it was a really cool way of dealing with this. And I've also heard people use Decapitator, of all things, which is just a hardcore distortion. I don't even know how you do it. I've been playing with it. If you guys know how, maybe shoot me an email on how to use this as a two-bus compressor, because I know distortion and compression are pretty much the same thing, but usually miles apart in terms of intensity. So let's just use a light drive and see if we can get anything cool out of it. I don't know if we will, but... Going nuts yet? Sorry. Well, with just the drive on whatever, 1 point something, I can definitely tell there's something about this plug-in that might actually be useful on the 2-bus. I don't know how we're going to make a brick wall limiter out of it, and you definitely have to mess with the gain structure because there's no output on it. By cranking up the drive, you're just making it louder and more distorted too. But anyway, the point here again is dig up some other tools. If you start running out of problems and your compressors aren't doing what you want, look elsewhere and look for the most colored things you can, tape emulators and even distortions. Don't rule out anything. Just try it all. All right, guys. Thanks. Bye.